This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Hello and welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. It's been a little bit, but we're here at free agency. The draft is coming up in a little over a month and a half from now. This is one of the most exciting days of the offseason where legal tampering begins. You're allowed to talk to free agents, and we got some news pretty early in the day that we'll touch on in just a minute. But I'm here with my co-host, Jace Campbell. How's it going, Jace?
It's the most exciting day for 31 of the 32 NFL franchises.
Exactly.
Everyone but the Patriots, it's exciting for.
True.
But I mean, we got some good news today. We still have a lot of money to spend, and we've been gone for a little bit, so excited to jump into some free agent talk, draft talk coming up. So if you guys are, not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll be talking about the draft coming up and more free agency news, but let's jump right into it. I mean, right off the day, it was kind of surprising, this news that we got right off the bat, and that was that the Patriots were trading tight end Jonnu Smith to the Atlanta Falcons for a 7th round pick. Cole, what were kind of your thoughts on this? It really was one of the first moves of the day in the whole NFL. So what were kind of your thoughts on this and initial reactions?
I will say my initial reaction was a 7th round pick. Really, that's it for Jonnu. But then when you kind of think about it, his production or lack thereof with the Patriots, he hasn't had a lot on film. And the fact that they took the rest of the contract, basically, it clears up $4 million this year and $18 million next year. So I think that's good value. I'm fine with a 7th round pick. If we could have traded him for nothing, some people thought we might have to trade him and give something to the other team in return for like a 7th round pick, but so I'm okay with it. It stinks. Jonnu was one of the guys I was most excited about from that free agency class. We just never really figured out how to use him. He never really worked out here. Hunter Henry has had his ups and downs. Obviously, last year was a bit of an anomaly, but even that first year, it's just the Patriots have never had success scheming touches for guys. That's one of the main reasons that he failed to kind of find a role on this team. When he did get the ball in his hands, he did great. He's a talented player. I'm sure he's going to have success wherever he goes. In this case, it's the Falcons, but it just wasn't going to work out with the Patriots. I thought maybe Bill O'Brien could find more ways to use him. It looks like we're not going to get to see that, but overall, clearing that money off the books, one of the worst free agent signings in Belichick's history that I can remember, at least in recent memory. So it's always tough when you lose a guy who had so much hope and so much talent. I mean, that was the first jersey I bought after that free agency class was a Jonnu Smith one. So definitely disappointed to see him go, but at the end of the day, his production, his cap hit was just going to be a hinder on what we could do and the flexibility we had in this year and mostly next year. So $18 million, I hope they use it for something exciting. It's probably not going to be the case, but we can at least dream.
You might have to burn that live on stream since he's gone now, and it was your live stream burning. Who knows? But no, I mean, I was excited to see what he was going to do with Bill O'Brien and how Bill O'Brien was going to incorporate him because of the success Bill O'Brien had with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski back in 2011. I was excited to see what that was going to bring. Obviously, we won't get to see that. The hope is there is a very, very, very deep tight end class in the draft this year. So, maybe that's a position now. You add another 7th round pick. Maybe you go target now a tight end in the 4th or the 5th, maybe earlier than that. There's some guys at the top of this draft that are really good. And with Hunter Henry only being on contract for this season, it would make sense to go get a young guy in there because after Hunter Henry, there's not very many. There's not any experienced tight ends on the roster. They really just practice squad guys and backups. So a tight end now in the draft seems very likely for the Patriots now. And I think that that would be something that wouldn't really surprise me if they were to go out there and draft one like that. Now, 2 days ago, you probably wouldn't have thought about that just because, hey, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, let's see what they do for one more year and then see how Bill O'Brien uses them compared to what they have been being used as. But we're not going to get to see that dynamic this year. So maybe they draft a young guy But the 7th-round pick, it's hard to swallow because, like you mentioned, it was a huge contract, and he was one of the premier tight ends at the position when New England signed him. So it's hard to swallow a 7th-round pick. But you look at it, the Patriots got a 5th-round pick for Shaq Mason last year. Bill Belichick is not the best at getting value for guys like this. So to get an extra pick like that, who knows if New England even, uses it. Maybe they use it to trade up for someone or trade for another guy. And maybe the 7th rounder is, a gem, just like Bill Belichick has always found in the 7th round. But it's a little hard to see a guy like this that just 2 years ago New England fans were so dang excited about, and honestly the whole NFL was excited about, now get traded for a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely going to be the case. I do agree, though, first round is going to be a little bit early. I know there's some guys that are talked about in that first, second round. Depending on how talented the player is, depending if somebody falls, I'd be okay with maybe taking a guy in the second. We'll kind of see how the board goes. We'll see how we fill our needs currently, but I'd be shocked at this point if they didn't take a tight end in the draft, seeing how this is Hunter Henry's last year with us. We just traded Jonnu, and there's nobody in the pipeline. Nobody at all. This team honestly has swung and missed a lot lately for tight ends, between Asiasi and Keen in the 3rd round a couple years ago, and then a couple years later signing Jonnu and Hunter Henry to these massive deals, and neither one of them working out to that contract number. I know Hunter Henry has been solid, and last year it's hard to really take that as much weight because everything that happened in the whole situation, everybody was bad last year because of the offensive system change. So it's hard to hold that against him too much. But overall, just evaluating the tight end position, even in the draft and then in free agency as well, this team has struggled. Just pass catchers in general, this team has been horrendous at. But they still yet they still refuse to go trade for a number one, trade for somebody who they know is going to be an impact player. Surround your young quarterback with talent, see what he's got, see if he's going to be the answer for the future of this team. It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, we do need a tight end at this point. I think the draft is going to be the way to go. Maybe they add another veteran, but that would be a short-term solution. I think even if they do add a veteran for this season, maybe a guy who can impact the run game, I think that you would probably see them address it in the draft as well, because there's nothing coming up in the pipeline currently.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of taking a tight end round 1 either. I don't think that solves New England's needs. Like, you need an offensive tackle, you need a corner, you need a receiver more than that. But there's going to be guys in the 2nd and 3rd round that I would love to target. Darnell Washington out of Georgia is a freak. Like, if you see how big he is and what he tested as. Sam Laporta out of Iowa. You're going to have Zach Kuntz out that was at Penn State. He's coming out of Old Dominion. You're going to have guys that are going to be there in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds that I like, that tested well, I think are good. Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State's a true pass-catching guy. He's not going to be a hand-in-the-ground type of blocker. So I don't think that this makes New England go tight end round 1, because I really think there's only one round 1 tight end, and that's Michael Mayer. Maybe Dalton Kincaid sneaks in there, maybe Washington, just because of how productive Kincaid was and the freak athlete that Darnell Washington is. But there's going to be guys that are going to be available in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round that I think New England can nab and could turn into really good guys in Bill O'Brien's system. And you really see a lot of 2nd, 3rd, 4th round tight ends have success in the NFL. You're usually not seeing, Kyle Pitts was a freak, TJ Hawkinson. There's very few guys that go 1st round at tight end and are just super dynamic and stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of guys in the 2nd, 3rd round, and that I think New England can target. And I'd be excited for one of those guys, depending on who they take.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of intriguing options at 14 in general, and this team has a lot of needs. It's not like taking a tight end in the 1st round is going to solve all your problems. That's one little piece of the entire iceberg that this team needs to start building on. But I don't know. There was a piece of good news along with this. I know it's not super exciting to see that Jonnu was gone necessarily, but with the money off the books, with the production, you're not really losing a whole lot because he had basically no production. One piece of good news that we did get was Jonathan Jones re-signed with the Patriots on a 2-year, $19 million deal. He definitely could have got more money. I think just under $10 million, about $10 million a year for Jonathan Jones is great value. And 2 years is not too long. Keeps him in his probably 2 of his last good seasons that he has. Still, He's got wheels. He was extremely impressive last year. He's versatile. He can play outside. He can play inside. He's obviously best as a slot corner, but he really showed his versatility last year on the outside. Devin McCourty talked about maybe he plays free safety this year. And Jalen Mills also tweeted about an hour ago that he plays safety as well. So there's going to be plenty of versatile defenders in that in the backfield there to see in the back end to see how they mix and match them. Belichick always loves playing that game of mix and matching his secondary and creating different looks and having guys who can do multiple different things. That's a staple for Belichick. So it wasn't a surprise to me. I knew Jones wanted to be back here. I knew Belichick valued him as a player. The only question was, is his age going to be a factor where Belichick usually likes to move on too early rather than too late? But Jonathan Jones is here to stay, and I was a big fan of this move.
Yeah, this is probably going to be, unless New England goes and signs Orlando Brown or one of those guys or makes a trade, this is probably going to be one of the biggest moves that New England makes. And I think it's great. It's not a super extended one where, he's going to be here for 4 or 5 years and maybe play out of his prime. He's here for 2 years. It's low risk, high reward. You can cut him, but I love it. I would personally, I agree with, I think it was Branton that set it up here. Yeah, he wants Mills at safety. I agree. I'd rather have Jalen Mills at safety. That would give New England the opportunity if they wanted to. They can't get a tackle at 14. Now you go draft a cornerback like Joey Porter Jr., Devon Witherspoon if he's there, DeAndre Barnes from Maryland if he's there. And those are bigger, longer guys that are younger and they can play outside that we're lacking. So I'd rather see Jalen Mills move back to free safety and play that, take over that role. I think Jonathan Jones proved that he can be a very good cornerback. I think he's a very, very good number 2. He's a good number 1, but I think he's really going to excel when he doesn't have to guard the bigger bodied receivers, guys that can moss him, go up for the ball like that. So I think that I can, or that I would like to see him stay at cornerback more. And New England and Bill Belichick have always had a guy like this that, you think of Malcolm Butler, you think of Jonathan Jones. Now you think of JC Jackson, who, has always been this undrafted guy that comes in, makes a name for himself. And then if they leave, what do? They don't really do very much. Look at JC Jackson. He hasn't done much. He's been hurt. Malcolm Butler didn't have a super extended career outside of New England. He tries to come back. So I like this move. I think it's smart for Jonathan Jones. Someone tweeted too that he had an opportunity to take more in free agency, like more money too, and significantly more money. He chose to stay in New England.
I think.
Yeah, he chose to stay in New England on a pretty team-friendly contract, and I think that this will be a good move for New England down the road. And, for the next 2 years, you at least have a solid cornerback number 1, but you'd ideally to have this defense be the best that they can be. I think you have him at cornerback number 2, and you have a bigger, longer guy play that true number 1 boundary corner. And then Marcus Jones in the slot. And then Jack Jones, is Jack Jones. He can come in and play the time that he needs to.
I agree. Whenever this defense has been at its best, you got Jonathan Jones there at the slot. You got Jonathan Jones as a number 2 corner who can mix and match, who can guard guys like Tyreek Hill. And this division is tough. There's a lot of good players in this division. There might be another great quarterback being added to this division shortly as well. So we'll keep you guys updated with any breaking news if anything does come across. But as of right now, nothing for sure yet. So Jonathan Jones, I was super happy with it. Carlos, how's it going? We're not feeling too bad. I personally was a little more hopeful for today. I thought they might use their money a little bit. I thought if there was a guy that maybe they would go after a little bit, it might be a guy like Jesse Bates to re-shore up that free safety spot. I know Belichick likes spending more on defense than on offense. I never really had hope that we would trade for one of these top wide receivers, a DeAndre Hopkins, a Jerry Jeudy, any of these guys. I really hope we do. I'm really worried that this might be the wide receiver core we go into the season with. I know we'll add pieces here or there, whether that's bring back Jacoby, but you can't just bring back Jacoby, and you can't just bring back Jacoby and add a Philip Dorsett, because that does absolutely nothing. That's a guy that the Patriots are rumored to be interested in bringing back is Dorsett. So it's just, I don't know. It's pretty frustrating seeing all the moves that these teams in your division are making. The Dolphins are aggressive. Within the past 365 days, they've acquired Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and now Jalen Ramsey. That is absurd. those 3 players alone are better than any single player we have on our team. It's tough to compete with that. When another team has that much talent, it's tough to compete with that. No matter how good your coaching is, no matter how fundamentally and technically sound you are, you have to get players at the end of the day. And right now, we don't have enough good players to compete with these guys. We're at the bottom of our division. If the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be absolutely stacked. They have a great defense. They have good weapons for him, a good run game, young talent, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. We know what Buffalo is, and I just kind of mentioned Miami. We know what they can be as well. So it's tough. The Patriots got to make moves. I know they're going to have a decent amount of cap space, it seems, next offseason. Start using some of it. Make some moves. You got to see if Mac is the future, because if he's not, and you surround him with DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy and some other guys and get him protection this year, then we know, okay, Mac's not the guy. We can move on. We can start looking for the quarterback of the future, the next guy. But if he does have success and this team starts going places, continue to surround him and continue to add to that defense and build the team around Mac Jones. And let's see where it goes. But as of right now, we're caught in the middle. We don't have enough talent. We don't have a ton of money. And we have plenty of trade assets. It's not the Patriots hold these draft picks like everyone we're drafting a superstar. We don't draft very well. So if you're not drafting very well, you might as well use your picks to get proven players, get a young guy like Jerry Jeudy, get a veteran like DeAndre Hopkins. The asking price on some of these players is well worth it. I mean, what was it? A 3rd round pick for Jalen Ramsey and
a 3rd round pick and Hunter Long. Yep.
So, I mean, that's ridiculous. That is dirt cheap. I know they took on his contract, and I know it's all guaranteed money now for him, but he's one of the best corners in the league. I don't care if he had a down year a little bit. I don't care if he's getting a little older. Jalen Ramsey is a stud. So we just, at the end of the day, at some point, we got to start adding actual good, talented football players to this team. And it feels like every free agency, we're just sitting here waiting for something to happen outside of that 1 year, and it doesn't happen. So I'm not sure what the plan is. I had hope coming into this. It's not over yet. It's early, but I just want to see the Patriots get a good, exciting player. And it feels like we never make an exciting move ever. It's just everybody else in the NFL gets these big signings, these big trades, these exciting moves, these flashy moves, and we're just sitting here. Oh, the Patriots have interest in Philip Dorsett. It's like, okay, well, that's awesome. So we'll see what happens.
What's wrong with Philip Dorsett, man? He was good when he was here. No, I mean, I agree with Carlos Lopez right here. He says that Jesse Bates is the one that stung a bit. I get it. He's the 4th highest paid safety ever. Like, it's a huge contract. But that's what New England needs to start realizing. And, if they want to start improving, pull the trigger. Now, this would have eaten up a ton of cap space for us. Him getting $64 million and $16 million of it's his average annual value. It's a huge contract, but Jesse Bates would have came in. He would have made it easy to, not have to now move Jalen Mills or Jonathan Jones to safety or draft a safety. That fills a spot right there. And if you still feel like you can take a corner, you take a corner there, you go out, and then you address the other positions, through free agency or something else. It's not like we are just passing up on these guys because, and I heard rumors that Jesse Bates was in, the Patriots are one of his final 3 teams. I don't know how true that is. I heard it was the Bears, the Falcons, and the Patriots. At this point, I don't know if it's true or not, but there was probably interest in there. And, this is a guy that could have came in. He has playoff experience. He's been playing for the Bengals, who, is been making runs the last couple of years. It would have brought leadership to that secondary, which we are severely missing now because Devin McCourty's gone. Now we get Jonathan Jones back, so that brings some leadership. But this is a veteran guy that could have came in and, been a huge leader on the field and off the field and would have been a locker room guy. But, we let him go. And I really do think this is probably the big one. There's another one that we'll talk about here in a minute that I think was a big one that could have solved another huge issue. But with the Devin McCourty news, I think all Patriots fans' eyes turn to Jesse Bates, and maybe now it turns to Jordan Poyer from the Bills. I just don't know how likely that is, but Jesse Bates was one that I think a lot of Patriots fans will hold out hope for, and really it wasn't realistic because New England just doesn't make moves like this.
Which is I just don't understand. I don't get it. We have we're projected $100 and something million. I'll find it real quick, but one thing I want to note from Carlos here real quick is he said he likes that the Titans signed Diller, that offensive tackle that the Patriots were interested in as well, because that might mean a top tackle falls to us. We've seen that a little bit. we've seen a little bit of that with some of these teams that are taking tackles or taking some of these different players. Maybe that does cause some guys to fall to the Pats, but the Titans specifically, it seems like they need an entire new offensive line. Basically, they cut their center, they cut one of their guards, their tackle. So I don't know if this necessarily makes it so they won't take a tackle. Maybe they take a receiver, maybe they take another tackle. We'll see. But um, I definitely think that is something to at least try to keep in mind is paying attention to who these teams that are above us are. And the Titans were certainly one of those teams that were a threat to take a top tackle ahead of us. I think they're at pick 11 and we're at 14. So that was something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and that's a big deal right there. I also think that you see Carolina trading up. You're going to see teams trading up. Last year, I think New England traded back, so one quarterback went before New England. Usually there's going to be a run on quarterbacks this year. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis are probably most likely going to go before New England. So there's going to be trades, there's going to be opportunities, and there's going to be more positional players that New England needs available at 14 for them just to end up trading back for, which doesn't, we don't need to talk about that yet, but there's going to be more positional players because there's going to be a run on quarterbacks in the top 10 of this year's draft. So it'll be interesting to see who falls there. I don't know if Tennessee views Dillard as a long-term option. There was also a report that New England was in on Dillard until he signed that 3-year, $30 million contract. I don't know if I would have given him 3 years, $30 million. It definitely would have filled the need, but I don't know. I think that, just staying at 14 and drafting a young tackle and developing him, you'd have him for 4 years. You'd have a 5th-year option on him. You could develop him with Mac Jones. And then, still, like we talked about, there was reports that a 2nd-round pick would be enough to get it done for DeAndre Hopkins. We don't know how true that is, but if that's the case, tackle at 14, trade your 2nd-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, and then, build from there, whether it's cornerback in the 3rd, another offensive lineman there, whatever it is. There's still ways to improve this team, but day one of free agency, not spending too much money on outside free agents, it was a little disappointing, especially seeing some of these guys come off the board that I would have personally loved to see New England have.
Yeah, no, me as well. But just kind of talking about the cap space real quick. As of this year, we have, it says 28 million left after the Jonathan Jones deal. We are 6th most cap space left in the NFL. Next season, we're projected to have the 3rd most cap space next offseason, $165 million, which obviously that's going to change once we draft and once we sign a couple more players. And it's not going to end up being that much, but that's a lot of money. And for us being 3rd and the 4th most cap space is the Panthers. They have like $15-16 million less than us in cap space. So Pats have a lot of money they can work with over the next couple of years. I know this year it's a little less at just under 30, but you can make contracts work however you want. You can backload them, you can front load them, you can do whatever you want to make it work. There's no reason the Patriots can't use some of these draft assets they have. They have 3 4th-round picks, like 3 6th-round picks. They got a 2nd, obviously a 1st, 7th. They got plenty of draft assets and enough money to do things with. So I'd like to see them make a trade for a wide receiver. And we'll get into some of these potential people left on the board that we want to talk about, but I'll leave it to Jace to touch on some of these other players first that we liked that are no longer on the board.
Yeah, let's stay on the defensive side and go to someone that I don't know how realistic I thought it was, but this guy's a 24-year-old linebacker that's played 5 years in the NFL and he's
like 3 months 3 months older than Cole Strange. Younger than Jack Jones. Like
it was crazy, and he's been a huge reason why the Buffalo Bills have been so good. And they don't re-sign him. He goes to Chicago on a 4-year, $72 million contract, $50 million guaranteed, $18 million average annual value. It's a huge contract for a linebacker and a position that the Patriots don't usually pay. That's why I don't think it was realistic. But you talk about a young sideline to sideline player that would have been great in run coverage, would have been great, or run in the run game would have been great in pass coverage, can rush the passer, is long, physical, big. This dude is like 6'4", like he is massive out there. Length, he has good speed. So this would have been a guy that I would have loved for New England to get to improve their linebacker position. But you look at how linebackers are viewed in the NFL nowadays, and especially how Bill Belichick views them. I really didn't think it was likely. This was more of a dream pick, but still, this is a good deal for the Bears that, just need to stockpile talent, and they're stockpiling draft picks, but now they're getting talent through free agency. This is a great deal for the Bears, and I would have loved to see him on the Patriots.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would have loved this as well. This was one that I didn't think was super realistic. I had a little piece of me that was hoping that Belichick, just with his defense, his love for defense, this guy can do it all. And I think he would have been a huge addition to this defense, but Belichick has shown it time and time again. He has confidence in Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai and Raekwon McMillan and all these guys. For some reason, he thinks they're great. He's stuck in the 1940s where it's just run the ball. Apparently, we could have really used a guy that has the versatile skills of a Tremaine Edmonds who can cover the pass, solid speed, and just all the traits you just listed off. He's definitely a good player, and he goes to the Bears on a pretty good deal for himself. The Bears had a ton of money to spend. I figured they were going to price out some of these free agents and give them a bag because they had a ton. But at the end of the day, Belichick's happy with the linebackers we have. He's going to the Bears. But I certainly would have liked to see him in a Patriots uniform. I think he would have made a good impact for us.
Yeah, it's one of those positions that New England's struggled at for years because they've never had a top guy, but they always seem to get by, having these linebackers. So we'll see. Let's move on. I see some people talking about it. Mike McGlinchey, one of the top, or probably the top right tackle prospect in the free agency draft class, signs a 4-year, $87.5 million deal, $50 million guaranteed, $17.5 million average annual value. This is a good deal for a right tackle. I see some people arguing in there how 49ers fans didn't like him, and he was injury prone. This guy has all the intangibles. I believe he was like the 9th pick coming out of college. Never really panned out in San Francisco because of his injuries, but you saw clips, you saw highlights of how good he is in the run game. And that's what New England needs, is they need a guy that has experience running that Shanahan style offense, because that's what we heard New England was going to go to, and we never did. This guy's been running zone schemes. He's been running wide zone schemes. He knows how to block that, and he really is an ass kicker. And if he could stay healthy, he deserves this contract 100%. Now, I don't know if this is something that New England looked into, but Denver, looking to improve off of what they were last year. Sean Payton now getting some protection for Russell Wilson. I like this move for Denver. I would have liked this for New England. And I know a lot of people have talked about it. Alex Barth, we've mentioned it. A lot of Patriots fans, sign a right tackle, draft a left tackle, double dip at that position. I don't know if there's another good right tackle out there. There probably is, and maybe New England does that. But now maybe you're looking at move Trent Brown to right tackle again, because he was not very good at left tackle this year, even though I said that I would like to see him at left tackle, and then I saw how he played. And then you draft a left tackle and develop him. But now you're losing the premier top left or right tackle on the market to Denver. And so now you got to be a little more creative at how you fill that right tackle position, because I sure as hell hope New England does not resign Isaiah Wynn. And that's the answer right there.
Yeah,
So,
he's not coming back. He is not coming back. I mean, I guess you can't ever rule anything out with Belichick, but I would be floored if Isaiah Wynn was back on this football team next year. Unless he was like holding people's jock straps or something.
I think I've seen crazier things. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. Yeah, no, I thought McGlinchey was a good option for the Patriots. I thought if they were going to spend that tackle, it was going to be in this range with a guy like him. He did get a good amount of money. I think 17.5 a year. That's a lot of money. But he's a good player. He's a solid player. He's had his injury concerns. A lot of different tackles have their injury concerns. It is what it is. Obviously, you want a guy who can be durable and stay healthy. But the Patriots, I don't think they're fishing at the top of the market for tackles. They were interested in one of the lower tier guys that the Titans signed for a decent amount of money for his skill set, I believe. But I don't think they're going to be in on the Orlando Brown sweepstakes. I don't think they're going to be in on the Texans left tackle Laramie Tunsil. I don't think they're going to be in trade discussions for him. I think at this point they're probably going to sign a decent veteran and probably draft a tackle early and go with that plan and hope Trent Brown is better. But at the beginning of the offseason, I wanted us to sign one in free agency and draft one early. This was kind of my hope, was to get a guy like this so that you don't have to rely on Trent Brown or the rookie. You can kind of have a mix of both. and let them develop. But if they feel confident in Trent Brown, they think he's going to be back to his normal self this year. They think Adrian Clem is going to fix him and make this O-line good again. I'm okay with that. Keep Trent Brown either left or right tackle, draft a guy and develop him. But I'll have you touch on another tackle who left to go to the Chiefs today.
Yeah, let me touch on Carlos's comment here. Being from the Bay Area, he always heard about how bad of a pass protector he was. 100. I'm not arguing that. Like, he is for sure known as a run blocker, and he has had his struggles in pass protection. You look at his stats, though, he's only given up 6 sacks once in his career. Okay, he gave up 6 sacks this year. He gave up 2. He gave up 5 his first 3 years. So yes, that has to do with him never playing more than 700 snaps, or more than 700 pass blocking snaps. So he hasn't had that, we talked about, he's had that injury concern problem in his career. So no one's arguing that, but I'm saying if he stays healthy and he lives up to his potential, that's a really good contract. And that's a guy that I don't think has scratched the surface of what scouts thought he was coming out. So we'll see. It's a huge deal for a guy that has had struggles in the pass blocking game, but you're telling me that you wouldn't take him over Isaiah Wynn? Yeah, we would. Now, the contract's obviously an issue and working around that, but I think that he would have been a good deal for New England, and they could have potentially maybe turned his career around up to this point. So, but let's talk about another one, another young guy that I didn't really think of him right off the bat, but he's 25 years old. He was, a very, very good and productive guy for Jacksonville, but he signs a 4-year, $80 million deal, $60 million of it guaranteed, $20 million average annual value. And I think this just, tells you that that Kansas City is not planning on re-signing Orlando Brown. They're going to let him walk. He's obviously going to go somewhere else. So that gives fans some hope in New England. But then again, how likely is it? This is a huge contract for a guy that I don't think is nearly as close to the talent as Orlando Brown is. So what's Orlando Brown's contract going to be? It will be interesting to see what it is once someone signs him.
And I think this is probably just a move where he's getting paid more because he's going to be moving from right tackle to left tackle, I believe. So 4 years, he's young, he's 25, like you mentioned. Maybe he has some room to develop. Maybe they see a couple things they think he can improve on. And the market goes up so fast. I mean, it's crazy what receivers and quarterbacks have been making the past couple of years compared to just even 5 years ago. So if you look at it now, it looks like a big contract. I still think it is a lot of money for a guy like that, a guy like him. Orlando Brown, I think you're probably going to see somewhere similar in this range. He's probably going to be asking for more after this, but I think he might settle kind of right around this range where Jawan Taylor ends up. But another guy Patriots passed on. They obviously have a plan, whether that's like I just mentioned, signing a veteran somewhere who's not at the top of the market and drafting one. We'll see what that ends up being. But plenty of free agents here that went off the board today that Jason and I were both interested in and didn't obviously end up in Patriots uniforms.
Yeah, let's answer this question. Red Patriot 99. Who should be our main focus on getting in free agency? There's not too many of those high dollar guys anymore. The big name is Orlando Brown. That's the guy that I think a lot of Patriots fans should be looking at. But who for you would maybe be another guy that you would target at any position in free agency that's still out there?
So just kind of taking a peek at the list of where we're at right now. There's a few different guys. I think obviously we touched on Jordan Poyer. He's made plays in big games and he always seems to perform against us. I think Jordan Poyer would be a good replacement for McCourty in the back end for us. I would love to have him. Obviously, if we can trade for a number one type receiver, I would love to have Jacoby back on a reasonable deal. No wide receivers have been signed yet, so hopefully that means the market's low and we can get Jacoby for a reasonable number. I think he'd take a little bit of a discount to be here with us. So I'd say Jordan Poyer, Jacoby Myers, and then maybe one of the corners. I don't know where we're going to be at exactly as far as the draft goes, but maybe a James Bradbury, a type like that. Maybe we can get a guy like him, add him to the secondary to bolster it a little bit. I obviously like who we have in Jonathan Jones and some of the young guys we have coming out, but I think we can still add to that position. It's not nearly as deep as we've had it in years past. So we need a number one corner. We need a bigger guy, bigger outside corner, guy who can play man-to-man. But those are just a couple options that I think would be good fits for us.
Yeah, and for me, I'll stick to the offensive line, obviously Orlando Brown, but I'll mention 2 other guys that are a little bit older that New England would probably like to target, just knowing what they target, and they take guys on cheap contracts that they can maybe squeak out a couple more years out of. Taylor Lewan, left tackle out of Tennessee, he's 31 years old. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was one of the best tackles just 3-4 years ago. Injuries have kind of caught up to him. And then the other guy for me is, oh gosh, Donovan Smith, a 29-year-old out of Tampa Bay, a guy that pass protected for Tom Brady and was a huge part of that Super Bowl team, that kept Brady up for so many times, and really kept him off his back. And then, those are two guys that I look at that aren't going to be demanding huge numbers value wise. Looking on Donovan Smith's average or market value, they're guessing are right around 19 million, which I still think is pretty high for a 29-year-old. But we'll see what he's able to get. He would be a left tackle that could come in and maybe move Trent Brown back to right tackle. So those are two older guys that I don't think are going to be super high in demand that maybe New England would like to target and squeak out a couple more years out of and see what they have in there. Those are the types that New England just always seems to find in free agency, and they get a couple of really good years out of them, and then those guys usually go into retirement and or they go somewhere else for a lot more money, and then they don't really pan out there. So those are guys that I could see New England targeting, just because I don't know if Orlando Brown's realistic at this point.
Yeah, another one. Carlos asked if we're out on McGarry. Caleb McGarry, of tackle from the Falcons, great run blocker, not as good of a pass blocker, but that'd be an interesting option. He is 28 years old, was a first-round pick. So there's plenty of options out there for the Patriots that aren't top of the line like Orlando Brown, like some of the guys you just mentioned. But another guy I wanted to touch on who's a free agent, Braxton Berrios. If we don't re-sign Jacoby, I think that makes too much sense. If we get a number one receiver and Jacoby's asking for too much money and we want to bring in Braxton Berrios, maybe we draft the Zay Flowers or something like that. I think that would make a ton of sense, bringing him back maybe short term. Just he did a lot more than I think the Patriots maybe expected when he was gone. So I think bringing him back with Bill O'Brien, I think he would fit in this offense pretty well. So that's certainly another option. And then Mike Gesicki, MA Football Guy asked, what do we think of Mike Gesicki? I personally don't think that he's the type of tight end that Belichick would be a fan of in this offense, because he's long, he's athletic, he's kind of just a big wide receiver. He doesn't seem to hold up as well physically in the run game as some of the guys Belichick has liked in the past. I wouldn't rule it out necessarily, but I feel like the money he's going to maybe ask and command, his versatility might not be enough for a guy like Belichick in this offense.
Yeah, I have a hard time with Gesicki. I don't know about that one. I don't think I'd rather just draft someone at that point, in my opinion. He had a couple good years. I don't think he's like super elite. I'd rather just develop a guy at that point than bringing in Mike Gesicki, paying him that money. Take a cheaper, younger guy would be my option right there. But let's talk about, I see a lot of people. Yeah, see Mark right here says, no Gesicki, we are drafting Darnell Washington. I'd be all for that, right? Like, instead of paying Gesicki the amount he's going to want, just take Darnell Washington if he's there in the second round. Or, I don't know where he's going to be going, but he tested like a freak. So, this tight end class is stacked. We'll get into it as we talk more about the draft. But I see a lot of guys talking out there, so I wanted to throw this out there. The Patriots have had discussions about trading. Sorry, there's a typo in there. Have had discussions about trading for either Broncos Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. Now, this comes out, Denver's willing to trade one of them, or they're looking to trade guys like this. They're at least looking for partners or what is out there. So, Cole, who would you rather have? I think it's kind of obvious that New England would rather have Jerry Jeudy, just with the connection with Mac Jones being his roommate, stuff like that. But how likely do you think this is? Do you think it's more likely than a DeAndre Hopkins trade, or would you welcome one of these guys as a receiver?
Why didn't you put KJ Hamler on here? What if I wanted him instead?
Did you want him?
No.
Okay, exactly. Exactly.
No. Obviously, I'd rather have Jerry Jeudy. I think he fits well. I think he's a talented guy who's underperformed, hasn't lived up to his draft stock. I think him in this Patriots system, I think he's a great route runner. He's a guy who can play inside and out. Jerry Jeudy has a ton of talent, and I think he has a couple more years on his deal. So trading for him, I think would be huge. I think that would certainly add a guy that you can pair with Mac Jones. He might be a little more expensive than Hopkins, I think, but he's young. If you can develop him, I know that's a scary word. Developing wide receivers is a scary phrase for the Patriots, but if you can kind of put him in this offense and get the best out of him, he's got so much talent. He's a really, really talented receiver. He's up there at the top of my list of guys that I want the Patriots to trade for. So if we got a guy like Jerry Jeudy, I think that would be absolutely huge. I think he could do exactly what the Patriots need him to do. That might eliminate the need for a Jacoby a little bit. And maybe you kind of go after a different type of receiver, either in the draft or in free agency. But I think Jerry Jeudy, having a guy who's going to be on the same timeline as Mac Jones, building around him, putting him around Mac to build this offense, see what he can do with Bill O'Brien. I would absolutely love Jerry Jeudy. As far as the reality of it, how realistic I think it is, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to trade for a number one receiver. We have not seen Bill Belichick do it since Randy Moss. Maybe you could say Brandon Cooks was the last one. Belichick does not trade for number one receivers. And until he does that, I'm going to stand on this side of the fence saying he's not going to trade for DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy. I really hope I'm wrong, because I have been hammering the table as much as anybody else the past 5 years for us to get a number one receiver, and we have not done that. So that's my 2 cents on it. What do you think, Jace?
Yeah, I would love Jerry Jeudy. What I love about him is he had 713 snaps last year, 349 out of the slot, 362 out wide. The versatility of this guy, he plays in the slot. He runs great routes. Luke mentions it right here. He was a great receiver at the University of Alabama, and he had a great game with Mac Jones when Mac Jones came in for the injured Tua, and they have that chemistry. I think this is what we're starting to see in the NFL. You're starting to hear, Justin Fields and Jackson Smith and Jigba, they want to pair up. Maybe the Bears do that at 9 for Fields. You saw Jamar Chase. You saw with Joe Burrow. You saw Tua with Jalen Waddle. You've seen this happen over and over again, and they continue to have success in the NFL. So I think that this would be a great option. I don't know what the compensation would look like. Someone mentioned it up here. Carlos says he would rather have Cortland Sutton because he feels like that would be cheaper compensation wise too. You're not going to give up as much. I'd be all for Cortland Sutton. Before coming into this year, he was, a lot of teams were high on him. He had a great 2021 campaign, a little bit down last year because of injury, but I'd like both of them. Obviously, Jeudy would come in and be that number one receiver. Cortland Sutton would have a lot to prove. I would view the Cortland Sutton trade as more of a Devontae Parker addition for New England, where, he could be really good if he stays healthy, but we just don't see New England have success with guys like that. So that's why I'd prefer Jeudy coming in and saying, hey, let's get this guy who we know can be a number one receiver and has chemistry with Mac Jones and see how it works out for him.
Yeah, and I mean, Jerry's had his injuries as well. It's not like he's got a clean slate there either. But Carlos says here, I would love Jeudy too, but would you guys be comfortable giving him $17 million a year or more despite his injury history?
I think the cool thing about it is we wouldn't have to pay him until we saw him this year, right? Like he has 1 year on his contract
right this second.
Exactly. So you trade for him, it's going to take, probably a second or third round pick. I would imagine, I would hope it wouldn't be a first round pick. I know he's still young. He's only, he's going to be 24 this year. I would hope it's not a first round pick, but a second or a third. You see how he works with Mac Jones, and then you decide if you want to pay him. That's the good thing about it. He's not coming in AJ Brown style where it's like, hey, you gotta agree to signing him on this huge, massive deal to bring him in. You're gonna bring him in, see how he plays with Mac Jones, see how he fits the system, and then you sign him the next offseason. That would be the one plus for me in bringing in Jerry Jeudy.
If we can trade a second round pick for Mohamed Sanu, we can trade a second round pick for DeAndre Hopkins or Jerry Jeudy.
Please.
Right?
Yeah, should.
So, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. We got time. He would have to prove it to us in our system how he performs. And if he can stay healthy, which, I mean, I don't want to jinx anything. I'm going to knock on wood here, but Hunter Henry, he was a guy who had a lot of injury history. He's been a little bit more healthy, I would guess I'd say. I'm scared saying that, but
yeah,
a lot of guys don't have the best medicals in certain organizations. And sometimes that changes with different workout plans, different diets, different athletic trainers, different medical staff, whatever. So if we can get Jerry Jeudy in here healthy, and we can develop him and get just a little bit of what he gave at Alabama and some of the flashes he's shown, even with the Broncos. He's got talent oozing out of him, and I would love to see the Patriots get the best of him and get a hold of him, and at least give Mac a chance to have a number one receiver, because the guys you're competing with right now, the Dolphins have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey as their 1-2 punch. The Jets 1 and 2 are disgusting. Sauce Gardner's gross, and who's their other guy? You remember their number 2 corner?
I'm freaking drawing a blank on him.
I am too, but he's great as well. And then the Bills, their defense is solid. I know Tre'Davious White had some injuries last year, but then they got Kyer Elam and some guys there. So Carlos liked the Mohamed Sanu thing. DJ Reed. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Bryce Hall. Yes. Okay. I thought it was DJ Reed, but I was drawing a blank a little bit there. So we'll see. Carlos says they were shopping him with a deadline for a second and a fourth. So I wonder if Sean Payton has changed the value on him. Reports are saying the price is still high. The price is still high, but when Jalen Ramsey goes for a 3rd round pick, Jonnu Smith goes for a 7th. I know that there was a different situation there, but I don't think the value on these guys are as high as people hope on the receiving end of trading them. So I think a 2nd round pick, and if you got to do it for a 2nd and a 4th, or a 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th, or whatever, I don't really care. Get a number 1 receiver in the building, someone you can pair with Mac Jones, and see what happens, because I'm just tired of having a piss poor receiving core and a horrible offense. Just we got to give our quarterbacks a chance.
Yeah, we do. And the other thing that is funny is I just it's just I don't know how Patriots fans are still turning on Mac Jones. I get it. He had a bad year last year. Like not horrendous. He had a bad year last year. But he has nowhere near the people around him, the offensive line. He had a defensive coordinator coaching him. It's not fair. It has not been fair. Now, I will be as critical on the Patriots as I feel like fans should be. Now, we can criticize Bill Belichick because I really think it's getting to the point where, as much as I disagree with, I'm sure this is a Jets fan in here, Ski, he doesn't fit the mold for the new leg. He got carried by Brady. We're starting to see that maybe Brady was more, in charge of the team than what we thought. And
he's done a horrible job adapting. That's just,
he really has.
As a general manager, he has done a horrible job adapting.
There's criticism on Bill's end. I don't know if there's still criticism on the team's end, because the team can only do so much. You get put out there and you're getting coached to do certain things. You're still a professional athlete. I get it, but they have been put in a horrible situation to win. It has not been ideal for the Patriots for the last 2 seasons. And that's why us as Patriots fans keep crying for, let's go get a wide receiver number 1. Do something to help this young team. Don't just let them get piss pounded like they have been and win a couple good games, but then in the long run, they're not nowhere near where they need to be to compete, and then have the fan base turning on the young quarterback who has all the intangibles in the world but has not been given a chance. There's got to be some balance there. That's what's frustrating about free agency last year, free agency this year, the drafts that we've seen. And I think that there has been a couple good draft picks we've had. Cole Strange turned out to be decent. We'll see how he develops. Tyquan Thornton, there's some hope there. We'll see, but there's got to be some criticism for the front office, because we have not seen a competent NFL roster on the field for the Patriots in a couple years, and it's getting kind of frustrating.
We're the bottom of the barrel in the division.
We are. There's no doubt about it. And I get it. Ski's coming in here and he wants to roast us. I get it.
It's fine.
It's fine. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years. We've been to 4 Super Bowls since your guys' last playoff appearance. But I will admit, we are the bottom of the barrel right now. If the Jets go get Aaron Rodgers, which it sounds like they're going to, the Patriots are the bottom of the barrel. There's no doubt about it. I can say that we will be the bottom of the barrel. And it sucks to say that, because 5 years ago, we were, a dynasty. And then it ended like that. And as fast as it ends, it comes crumbling down, and we have not recovered from it yet. Now we have the opportunity to, with our cap space, a young quarterback that we could develop, potential drafting, but we have not done it yet. And it's looking, slimmer and slimmer every offseason, and it's scary.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Jets. It's not official yet. He's going to go to the Jets.
Yeah.
If somehow he did not, and somehow he retires or goes somewhere else, I would love to hear what Ski has to say after that, though. I will say that. I would love to see the Jets fans' reaction if Aaron Rodgers somehow does a 180 on him and doesn't go there. He's going to go there. It's gonna be
Yeah.
frustrating. But um, it's been years. It has been years of horrible wide receiver cores and lack of a true number one weapon. How many years in a row do defensive coordinators need to say the Patriots were easy to game plan for? They had no weapons. They had nobody we needed to really worry about or game plan around. It was an easy game plan. It was a nice, easy week for a defensive coordinator. No stress. No stress for us. How many years in a row do defense coordinators need to say that before Belichick says, oh, maybe I should get a number one receiver or a guy who can threaten the defense? Somebody that they can game plan for. He's a defensive coach. You would think that he understands that looking at the Patriots roster, Belichick could shut down this Patriots offense to probably 3 points in a game. That's it. Like, I don't understand it. It's these decisions that seem so blatantly obvious. This is what the Patriots need to do. Everybody understands that, except Bill Belichick for some reason. I don't get it. It is baffling to me. It blows my mind how stupid he can be sometimes with with the general managing of this football team. I don't understand. Kraft is getting pissed off. And at the end of the day, if Belichick doesn't start putting a better product on the field and giving himself a better roster to coach with, he's not going to be here much longer. I'm sorry to say it, but your leash is only so long. He's the greatest of all time. If you have another losing season and you don't do anything to heavily improve the team next season, at like the season after that, I don't know how much longer Kraft's leash is going to be. I would be devastated if Belichick does not get to go on his own terms. But if this keeps trending in this same direction and we keep having below 500 seasons, it is what it is. That's what's going to end up happening, and it's tough to say. But at some point, you have to realize the way the NFL is trending and get out of the 1930s with black and white photos and riding horse and buggies to the games and realize you need a number one receiver. You need somebody who makes an impact. How many times have we talked about every deep threat, every deep playoff, every team who makes a deep run in the playoffs? Oh my goodness, has a number one receiver or weapon. Chiefs, Travis Kelce. Bills, Stephon Diggs. Eagles, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. Bengals, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. They got all of these weapons, all these teams that are going deep in the playoffs. It's just, you need that. You absolutely need it. And we can sit here and pound the table over and over again. But until Belichick does that, we're going to be in the same spot. And that sucks to say because I have no faith that he's going to do that.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this question real quick. Then let's go to an ad break, and then we'll come back and wrap this up with a couple of your guys' questions. But I get that it's a rebuild, and I think we all knew that it was going to be bumpy. It wasn't going to be, AFC Championship games, Super Bowls. No one was expecting that when we drafted Mac Jones. We knew it would be bumpy, but there has been so many instances. Josh Allen, who else? Tua, third-year quarterbacks, Justin Herbert. They go out and they get them talent and they give them opportunities to succeed. And look at what they've done. Tua, year 2, no one believed in him. Year 3, he's like a top 10 quarterback in most stats, right? Like, if he doesn't get injured, he finishes probably top 5 in a ton of categories.
Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. Jalen Hurts. You go get A.J. Brown. So that's what we're saying is give Mac Jones and this offense a fair chance. Go do what these other teams have done while Mac Jones is on a rookie contract. That's the other thing is you have Mac Jones for 2 more years on a very team-friendly rookie contract. Go see what you have right now in him before you have to decide to pay him $30 million plus. If you go give him a wide receiver 1 and he doesn't perform for the next 2 years, then we know we don't have to pay him that money and we can start rebuilding again. But if you just keep twiddling your thumbs and not doing any of this stuff, and not giving him opportunities to succeed or, know where he really is as an NFL quarterback, it's going to be hard when you have to re-sign him in 2 years or so when his rookie contract is up. So let's send it to you got something else to say?
But just real quick, the Dolphins heading into free agency had like half the amount of money we had, and they have since traded for Jalen Ramsey, signed 2 solid linebackers, signed a backup quarterback in Mike White for like $8 million a year. Like, there's ways you can do it. We got so much money in the next couple of years, and we're just not dipping into any of it. We're just sitting here doing absolutely nothing as teams continue to sign these impact players. Brandon Cooks is available for trade, apparently. That was something that came up recently from Ian Rappaport. But, I mean, 29-year-old Brandon Cooks, we've had him here once. I don't know. We need a true number one. That's I don't ask for much. That's all I'm asking for is a true number one receiver for the Patriots. We haven't had it in forever.
For sure. We're gonna go to a quick ad break by Underdog Fantasy, and then we'll come back. So throw your guys' questions or whatever in the chat, and we'll wrap this up within the next 5 or 10 minutes once we come back from this ad break. Real quick, guys, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog's NFL Pick'em, they make it super easy to win big on any given night. They have individual player props or daily fantasy and are legal in 41 of the 50 states. Right now, they are doubling your first deposit up to $100 when you use code PATSDRIVE or use the link in the description. All you have to do is select higher or lower and submit your wager for as low as $1 to win anywhere from 3 times to 20 times your money. You can also compete against thousands in Underdog Fantasy's daily fantasy tournaments ranging anywhere from football to baseball to basketball. Whatever sport it is, there's a tournament for you. Now with Underdog's Pick'em Insurance, you can still win money even if one of your picks does not hit. So head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Make sure to use code PATCHDRIVE or use the link in our description to get started today. All right, thanks to Underdog Fantasy for that. If you guys haven't used our code, go ahead and do that. It supports our channel. You can also donate with the chat tab. There's stickers and stuff. You can ask us a question and we'll answer that right away. The other thing, right here in the corner, Cole tagged it, pinned it. Athletes Visual sells some super, super cool graphics and stuff. He's wearing a shirt. He's got a Mac Jones phone case, and he's got another canvas just like mine. I have this Tom Brady one. It's got all 6 of his Super Bowls. Cole designs them, sells them. So if you want to do that, make sure you guys hit the link in the comments section right there for your support. We appreciate you guys all being here, and make sure you like and subscribe. But let's get into some comments or questions. Red Patriot asked this a while ago, so sorry we're just getting to it. But Cole, is there a chance we get OBJ, Hopkins, or Darius Slay? How do we fill the hole now that Devin McCourty was retired? Let's just focus on the first one because we kind of hit on Devin McCourty's retirement. But let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr., Hopkins, or Slay.
Yeah, so we touched on Hopkins a little bit. I don't think we're going to grab him. I don't think Odell's likely either. He's reportedly asking for $20 million a year. We've heard the Patriots be interested in him a bunch of times. He wants to be on a contender. The Patriots are not that right now. So unless they start making some moves and decide they want to pay $20 million for Odell Beckham, I just don't think he's realistic. I don't think him or Hopkins. Darius Slay, maybe. He seems, I'm not sure how old Slay is, but he seems like he's getting older. I don't know if that's somebody that Bill would want to invest in, but Darius Slay is 32. Okay, yeah, so that's 32. That's probably, unless it's a really short-term deal, I don't know how much Bill would be interested in that. Yeah, Carlos is 32. So I don't really buy any of those as far as the Patriots' interest being that high. I think they should be interested in Beckham and Hopkins, but I don't think they'll pull the trigger on either one of them.
Yeah, I'd be more interested in Hopkins. I would be, if we're paying $20 million for Odell Beckham Jr. coming off an ACL surgery and recovery. And, honestly, I still think he's a really good receiver. You saw that in the Super Bowl run with the Rams. But if this is the year that New England finally goes out and signs Odell Beckham Jr. for $20 million, it would be a little bit of a head scratcher for me. So I would focus on DeAndre Hopkins. I know that there's the problem that everyone says the Bill O'Brien one, does DeAndre Hopkins want to get over that? What does New England offer for him? That's got to be the easiest route to getting a number one wide receiver, in my opinion. I think that New England is too stubborn. Bill Belichick's too stubborn. He'll give up a second for Mohamed Sanu, but he won't give up a second for DeAndre Hopkins. Who knows what it will be, but I don't know if we get any of those guys just based off of the history of New England and how they've approached trades like that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't know. They never want to pull the trigger on stuff like this for some reason. I agree with Lokai here. OBJ is a risk. It's just between his injury. We don't know. We haven't seen him play in a year and a half. Obviously, he looked good for the Rams. $20 million a year, good. I don't know about that. I think re-signing Jacoby Myers is going to be what ends up happening at the end of the day. They're probably not going to get a number one. We're going to re-sign Jacoby and hope that this offense is magically better somehow. So we'll see. We'll see how much of an impact Bill O'Brien has compared to Matt Patricia. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty significant one. One, to compete with the division? No, I don't think it's going to be that much. So I think you got to go grab somebody. Terry McLaurin was a guy I was interested in before he signed the extension. I thought that would have been a guy Patriots would love in free agency. He's off the board. He signed an extension this past season. I mean, I guess if the Commanders are horrible and they want to trade him, that's an option. But you see too many good receivers getting traded now, and they don't hit the open market very often. This wide receiver class is horrendous. If you want to go get a number one receiver, you got to trade for him nowadays. Teams aren't letting them walk.
Yeah, and they shouldn't. Like, that's smart of them. Like,
get what you can for him if you're not going to pay him.
Yeah. So going back on the Jacoby Myers one, right now they estimate his value at $12.5 million. If that's what he were to sign for New England, I would do it for sure. $12.5 million, if that is what he's looking for, which I heard that it's supposedly a little bit higher. I think I'd max it at 18. I would not give him 18. I'd still be willing to give him 15 if that means we don't get anyone else, just because if you don't get anyone else and you lose Jacoby Myers, this passing attack is horrific. So if that's your only option, I'd be willing to go to 15, but they have him at $12.5 million right now, calculated market value. I'd be willing to do that. The thing that makes it hard is if you give Jacoby Myers $12.5 million, I would want New England to take someone in the draft, a Jackson Smith and Njigba if he's there, Quentin Johnston. But how do you solve your tackle problem? Do you go sign? If you sign Orlando Brown, then you have the luxury of doing that. But if your big free agency spending is Jacoby Myers, I don't know how you realistically go into the draft saying we're going to take a young stud receiver at 14, but leave Mac Jones out to dry because we have so many holes on the offensive line and at the tackle position. So I have no clue how the heck New England approaches that if that's what they're looking at, but it will be scary if that's the only move that New England makes.
I agree. And real quick before I continue to respond to that, the Bears fan is back. Tremaine Edmonds, they stole right under from our nose. We wanted Edmonds, and
he's probably pretty happy right now. I mean, Ryan Poles he's been making some moves.
I thought their trade with who was it? The
Panthers
for the first. Yeah. By the way, who is that new quarterback for the Panthers going to throw to?
No one.
Yeah, literally. I have no idea who they're going to throw to. Yeah, but the Bears have been making moves. Some good trades for them, some good signings for them. Super Bowl champions 2024. There you go, Bears. Jacoby, I'm almost dead on with you as far as numbers go. I would want Jacoby for 12 if we get a number one receiver, and the max I would go is right there in the 14-15 range. If we don't, because you can overpay for Jacoby a little bit if you don't have anybody else, but I'd prefer to get somebody who you can rely on. And if Jacoby's willing to come back for 12, go grab him. Get 3-year deal. Get Jacoby. I know his ceiling's limited, but his floor is high. He's a great player who's produced every year for you. He's the one guy who didn't have a dip in production in the horrendous Matt Patricia experiment. I think that says a lot about Jacoby as a player. So I definitely want Jacoby back. I'm a big fan of his. It's starting to be where anybody's jersey that I have is leaving now. Jacoby might be the next one. I'm hoping he's not
buying jerseys of people.
I'm going to have to, because at this point, Mac Jones is going to be traded next. I don't have a Hunter Henry. I have a Ramondre one. He's probably going to be gone soon. Jacoby Myers. Let's see. Jonnu Smith just left. Oh, I do have a Hunter Henry one. Jonnu Smith just got traded. It's like, I got a brand new Brady jersey. The before the playoffs, before the game against the Titans. It came in the day after the Titans game, and Brady left that year. I was like, whatever. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to stop buying jerseys. I'm gonna have to start buying jerseys from like the Bills players so that they start.
Oh yeah, maybe if you reverse psychology it and guess and start going for people you want, then they'll come to New England.
That's what I'm thinking. So yeah. So I don't know. Today's been interesting. I don't think it's been the best day. I don't think it's been the worst. We got Jonathan Jones back. That's huge. I'm happy about that. We got Jonnu Smith's contract off the books. That's big as well. We'll see what happens. Gam says buy a Bears jersey. I'll buy a Justin Fields Bear jersey, and he'll be a Patriot by next year.
Honestly, I appreciate you for just taking the kill Harry. Salute the true. Bears.
I'll buy a Bears jersey just for getting N'Keal Harry out of here.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. I love the fact that this Bears fan is just on this random Patriots podcast, just coming in here. It's awesome.
I follow CHGO, which is it's a Chicago-based podcast, and I follow him for the Cubs. but occasionally I'll like tune into the Bear stuff just to watch it. So I just see like Gam right here just tuning in here just to talk or something. I love it. I love him coming in here and talking about it. I like hearing other people's perception of Patriots, because the Patriots fan base can get a little bit unrealistic.
Yeah. Because Gam is not unrealistic at all.
Oh, I mean,
not at all.
But
Not at all.
he looks at us. He's doing it as a joke. We know that. He's looking at us as, what most NFL fans are looking at us as. And so it's kind of funny to, see what NFL fans look at us as. And because there are some unrealistic expectations. I remember when we did our predictions for last year, and some people are like 12-5. They're going 12-5. Honestly, come on. There is no way you realistically see 12-5. I wish, but there's no way. So there's some unrealistic expectations. I like when other people come in here and share some stuff. So
Lokai wants me to get a Parker jersey so he can leave as well.
Or maybe he wants to get a Parker jersey.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Let's see. Mac's going to be much better now that Bill O'Brien's the OC. I hope so. I think
our whole offense will be better. Like,
I think it's gonna be better, but doesn't mean we don't need more pieces.
It can't be worse than last year. Let's put it
That's
that
true.
way.
That's true.
It literally can't be worse. So you take Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson. I think Tyquan continues to develop. I think that there is a way this offense will be better.
Tyquan's going to be a huge wild card for us.
Yeah, that's true. He could have a breakout year. He was injured for the first couple games. So I think that there's going to be an opportunity for this offense to be better than what they were. Kendrick Bourne had a huge dip in production. Hunter Henry had a huge dip in production. You're going to have an offensive coordinator that's competent at calling plays. He's going to be able to, have spacing in his routes. He's going to have some creativity in what he's doing. So we'll see. This offense can't get worse than what it was. Mac Jones is terrible, but he's not as bad as Justin Fields. So I'm excited to see how he continues to develop as a passer, because I really do think that him and Joe Judge's relationship was so dang bad that it affected his play, and he's excited to have Bill O'Brien in the building. So that will be something that we can look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And Red Patriots asking the good questions here. The important ones during free agency. Who's hyped for the Super Mario Bros. Movie next month? I haven't heard anything about that. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess I'm excited now. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Heard we offered a fourth for Hopkins. We couldn't offer a third. Mac needs weapons. Yeah, I mean, if you can't offer a third round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, you're just cheap and you're not willing to try to improve this football team. It's ridiculous.
I just see Bill Belichick, right? Like, we talked about what his negotiation process was for Shaq Mason last year. Like, well, I get a fifth. Okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. Just get the phone call. He's probably like, DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, fourth round pick sounds good. And then they just hung up on him, and he's like, well, that's fair. Come on. What do you mean? Like, he's probably so boring to negotiate with.
It's like me, my first fantasy offer for like trades in fantasy. It's like you lowball them and then you expect a counter, and if they just accept, it's like, oh, okay, well, then, all right. I guess I'll take that. Thornton will be a beast once he learns the plays and trade for Higgins. Yeah, Higgins would be nice. He's not available. The Bengals made that very clear.
You never know. We'll hold out hope.
That's true. So, you do never know, but that's all I got. You got anything else you want to touch on before we head out of here for tonight?
No, I mean, it's been a while since we've posted a clip, but we're going to be back. Draft talk will continue with free agency talk throughout this week. So continue to show support, like, subscribe, comment, let us know video ideas, live ideas. We're going to be coming out with our first mock draft soon. And then I forget who it was. Someone mentioned letting you guys send us your guys' mock drafts. We'll grade them live. We're going to do something like that. We have about a month until the draft, a little bit over a month until the draft. So we're going to get some draft content out here soon once free agency's over, and continue to ramp up the content. So we hope you guys subscribe, support our channel, and we hope to see you guys back in here when we're doing lives like this, and continue to talk to you guys. So
yep. We're down.
Yep. I did just see that. So Patriots might be the worst team in the league, but at least we didn't get the number 1 pick.
You know what, Gam? You don't need to be like that. We're doing nothing but being nice to you. You're in here. You might as well just be nice back. I mean,
yeah, come on. We can have we don't need this to be Patriots and Bills fans. Let's have a Patriots and Bears
why can't we be friends?
It's because Justin Fields is bad, and so he's taking it out on the Patriots. I think that's what it is.
Maybe. All right. So, thank you guys for tuning in again. All the regulars and all of you new subscribers. We appreciate the support. And like Jay said, new content going to be coming out. Hopefully more consistent. We've been extremely busy, but hopefully we signed some exciting free agents. Hopefully we can have some clips for you guys that'll be exciting. Some new players. Gam says bear down again. And thank you, Gerard, Edward, and Red Patriot 99, Carlos,
MA football guy,
all the usuals. Ashton,
Loki was new. So you keep scrolling. Red Patriot, yeah,
good pod. You guys, there you go, Cam. Thank you, Gam. We appreciate that. But
thanks.
All right, that's all we got tonight. Hopefully, Pats make some exciting moves tomorrow, and we will talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.